What's up everyone, it's Anna, also known as that Star Wars girl, and before I get into this video, it's just my friendly disclaimer. This content in this channel is not for children, nor has it ever been, so if you are a child, go away now. Alright, moving on. So it's December, like I said last month. I'm going to start doing, on the first of every month, but I'm a little late this month, sorry. I am going to be doing Q&A videos, so the way to get your question chosen for a Q&A video is I have an Instagram, is to follow me on Instagram, and getting close to the end of the month, I will post the Q&A, and I will let everyone know that this is the Q&A that is going to be what I choose from question-wise for my Q&A video, and I will pick the top 10 most intriguing questions, at least I feel to me, that I feel are intriguing, and I will answer them here in a video. So, today, I will be answering the top 10 most intriguing questions I got for this Q&A video. So let's get started. Alright, question number 1. How did you learn how to sketch? What did you like to sketch/create as a kid? Well, this one, I would say to be a little bit more technical, just so people can understand. And a lot of the questions in this video are going to be a lot of very art-centric, because apparently people like my art videos, so I'm happy to answer any art questions that anyone has. So, as far as sketching, you don't have to be a professional artist to sketch. You don't have to know how to sketch to be able to sketch. You just pick up a pencil, a crayon, a color pencil, a marker. Heck, you can even get chalk, and you can start sketching. And you just, get a piece of paper, get a newspaper, get a the paper plate that you were eating off of, and you want to just sketch a little thing, or a napkin or something, and then just start sketching. You don't need to learn or go to school to learn how to sketch. It's just something that comes naturally to you. And even if it's not the best artwork in the entire world, you're still sketching, and I think as long as you're getting enjoyment out of it, you're going to be successful in what you do. It doesn't have to look perfect. It doesn't have to look spot on. That's why it's called a sketch. It's not, a final drawing. It's not finished. It's just an unfinished sketch. So, as far as the question, how did you learn? It's not something that you learn. It's just something that you do. And what did I use to sketch as a kid? It drove my sisters crazy. So I used to sketch the sketch, and it was this like weird looking animal, and I just did this kind of V and it would each corner would be at the corner of a page, and I would draw a little eye, and I would sometimes draw some teeth, and I would fill it in, and it would look the same kind of in every sketch that I did, but I specifically did this because my sisters would always be like, "Hey Anna, what are you drawing?" I'm like, "It's a sketch." They're like, "Yeah, I know it's a sketch. What is it?" And I was like, "It's a sketch." And they're like, "Anna, I understand it's a sketch, but what is it?" And I'd be like, "It's a sketch." And it drove my sisters crazy, and we'd go back and forth all the time about it, and it just made me laugh so much, because they were just like, "Anna, what creature are you drawing?" And I'm like, "It's a sketch." And it would just drive them crazy. So that's what I like to draw a lot when I was a kid. As I got older, it started evolving into different things. When I was a kid, and this is actually really big for a lot of kids, is you kind of just draw things out of your imagination, and that's why it's like, oh, it could be a person, but this person has polka dots, or this person has leaves growing out of their hair. They have leaves growing out of their head instead of hair. And so when I was a kid, I just kind of drew stuff that I imagined. It was never something real. And then as I got a little bit older, I started trying to draw humans and trying to learn how to draw faces, and that's what I like to draw now. Is I love to do portraits, and I also like to do creature design stuff. But when I sketch, I usually just specifically sketch animals or bugs, and I like to incorporate like humanoid types of creatures or animals. So I hope that answers your question, but thank you for asking. I hope everyone isn't afraid to just go out there and sketch. It's not something that you need to learn. It's just something that you do. Question number 2, top 5 favorite Christmas movies. Alright, so my favorite Christmas movie is Jingle All the Way. My entire family are huge Arnie fans, so it was one of those things that, we would all watch you know, any of Arnie's movies together. We would sit there as a family, and, you know, a family of 5, it's really hard to get all of us to agree on a movie. But I mean, I grew up watching Terminator and Conan the Barbarian and then Total Recall. I loved that one when I was a kid. And, you know, we even loved watching the cheesy family movies that Arnie would do. Like, I loved Twins, Kindergarten Cop, Junior. And so Jingle All the Way is just one of those timeless movies. Like, and it was so funny. My parents would just both be cracking up laughing every single time we watched Jingle All the Way. And the, you know, camera would zoom into Arnold's face because it's like, oh yeah, you didn't forget to get the Turbo Man doll, right? And he'd be like, no, of course not. And it was just so great. And like, I know my mom loved it when he dressed up in the Turbo Man suit at the end of the movie, and, you know, even everything with the mailman, it was just so funny. And I remember me and my sisters all laughing when the bomb goes off. It's just such a classic Disney movie because it's one of those things, you know, kids are always going to exist unless somehow everyone in the human population goes sterile. And, you know, it's always... we're humans, we're forgetful, especially parents sometimes, and, you know, somebody's always going to forget to get that one thing, and I know I'm 100% guilty of it. I always forget something on Christmas, and it's like, that moment when it's like, oh my god, I forgot to get the thing, forgot to do the thing, and I got, like, no time to get it, and it's just a perfect, beautiful train wreck. And, you know, it was just a great Christmas movie, so it's not Christmas until I watched Jingle All the Way. And then my second favorite Christmas movies, yes, movies, because these two are tied, is The Grinch. I remember before the Jim Carrey Grinch came out, and it was just, you know, the little Dr. Seuss animated Grinch. I loved that. I thought it was so cute. You know, and just like, now as an adult, I'm like, I totally get it. I'm 100% one of those grumpy people that I just want to be left alone in my hobbit hole and just hang out with my dog. Like, I relate to the Grinch so much now as a grown-up, which is probably why I loved it so much as a child. But it's just such a touching story. It's, you know, this dude that just lives up on a mountain and hates Christmas, and there's all the Who's down in Whoville, and... you know, the animated one was great, you know, the little classic Dr. Seuss one, and then, you know, when they came out with the Jim Carrey one, I remember going and seeing it in the theaters. That was great, and, you know, it was just watching it with my sisters, and it's just a great movie, and, you know, it's the Grinch. It's, you know, a guy learning about the true meaning of Christmas, and his heart gets all big, and, you know, he grows 3 sizes, and then it breaks the thing. It's like, such a great Christmas movie. And then my third favorite Christmas movie, of course, and yes, these two are tied because you can't just watch one without watching the other one, which is Home Alone 1 and 2. Kevin McAllister. I mean, I remember being a kid, I'm like, I want to be like Kevin McAllister. I want to be able to set booby traps all over my house. If the bad guys come, I'll protect it. And, you know, I remember my cousin Brian just absolutely loved that movie, and so it would be something that, you know, the parents, grown-ups would turn it on while they're all cooking in the kitchen and, you know, wrapping presents in the other room, and me and my sisters and my cousins, we would all just sit around and just watch, and it was great. And I'm getting all, you know, sentimental because, you know, this is gonna be a really rough Christmas this year for me and my family, but, you know, it's just, they're two great movies. Again, those ones are timeless as well. Let's go from the wet bandits to the sticky bandits, and, you know, now as an adult, I'm like, what the hell did Kevin McAllister's father do to be able to afford all those tickets to Paris? And then in the next one, what the heck did his brother do to own, like, how many stories was that, 3 or 4 story, you know, building in New York City? I'm like, what the hell did this family do? And, you know, just the relationship between Kevin and his mother, and, you know, I totally get that, because, you know, me and my mom, we would never see eye to eye on anything, and they're just great movies. So Home Alone 1 and 2 are my third favorite Christmas movie. And then this one's controversial because some people don't think it's a Christmas movie, but it's 100% a Christmas movie, and it's Die Hard. I love Die Hard. Yes, I watched it as a child. Yes, I was allowed to watch those kind of things. You know, yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers. Great line, great movie. Just everything about that movie is awesome. Yes, it's awesome that it got sequels, but it's a Christmas movie. I will stand by that. 100% a Christmas movie, and it just was so popular that it became, you know, expanded upon. And, you know, Alan Rickman, great. I'm so happy that we got that dynamic between him and Bruce Willis, and, you know, you want to have a good time on Christmas? There you go. Now, my fifth favorite Christmas movie, and this one, I just want to go all the way up to 10, but my fifth favorite Christmas movie, and it's probably not, the most popular Christmas movie, but I really loved it. I remember seeing it with my mom when I was a little bit older, when it came out, and I just really liked it, and it's just, this little, yes, it's a cheesy love movie, but it's, can't even talk. It's The Holiday with Kate Winslet and Cameron Diaz and Jack Black and Jude Law, and I just really like that movie. It's just one of those, you get the little cheesy movie about getting the toy for the kid. You get the story about, the Grinch and then the guy that doesn't like Christmas that learns the true meaning of Christmas at the end. You get Kevin McAllister, the little terrorist kid that, has a fight with a parent and then it's all resolved at the end. And then you have, the badass action movie. And then, of course, you got to get the cheesy love movie. And, that's The Holiday. And I loved it. That's a good cheesy movie. And yes, I'm a girl. Yes, I like cheesy love movies. I'm sorry, sue me. And then, I would say Love Actually because that's a really good movie too, but I didn't watch that until I was an adult, or was I an adult? Maybe a teenager. Maybe I think I watched it when I was 19. So, yes, that's technically an adult. But these are movies that I watched when I was, younger. So I have, those memories that it's just like ingrained in me. And I could go on and on about all the other Christmas movies because I know, there's a lot. Gremlins is in there too. And, Frosty the Snowman. One of the Christmas movies that I actually hate, and I hate this story. I hate it with a burning passion. I have only seen one rendition of this story, this movie that I've ever liked, and it's A Christmas Carol. I hate that movie. I hate the story. I hate the characters, and it's just not something I ever liked. But I liked the All Dogs Go to Heaven version of it. I didn't like the All Dogs Go to Heaven movie. It freaked me out, but I liked the All Dogs Go to Heaven version of A Christmas Story. Or, excuse me, not A Christmas Story, of A Christmas Carol. A Christmas Story is a good movie too. But yeah, not a popular opinion, but I don't like that movie. I don't like that story. I don't like the ghosts. I don't like Scrooge. I'm just like, all right, so you're a grumpy old man. You're going to die in 2 days. And, not 2 days, but, you're about to kick the bucket anytime soon because you're 100 freaking years old. And now you're finally coming to terms with being a good person. I get it. I get why certain people like the story. It's just not something I like. But anyway, I hope that answers your question. What character in Star Wars would surprise us as being one of your favorites? Well, this is a character I don't really talk too much about, but I'm just going to go from the movies. I'm not going to get into any of the expanded universe characters because I'm getting introduced to new ones every single day because I'm diving into the expanded universe novels. And my favorite character that I don't really talk about that would surprise people is Padme. I remember when I was a kid going to the movie theaters to go see the prequels, and I just remember loving the character of Padme. And, she was a queen when she was 14 years old, and just everything that she did in her life. And I remember always wanting to, learn more about Padme. I always loved her action figures, and they were really hard to find, but I have all of them. I collected them as a kid, and, they've been coming out with newer ones, now, and I always order them on eBay immediately when I find them. And, she was one of those characters that I had such high hopes for, and I was really disappointed the way that she went out in Revenge of the Sith. I don't feel like she was done justice, because in the first movie, it's like, yes, she's a queen, she's in hiding for her life, and then she stands up to everyone, she reveals her true identity, she leads, the invasion of Theed to take back her throne, to save her people from the Trade Federation. And then in the second one, yes, she has to go into hiding, but still, and yes, I know, cheesy romance. I'm a girl. I love cheesy romances. As an adult, listening to that dialogue is a lot more painful than when I was a kid. But if you're stuck on this romantic destination with Anakin Skywalker showing you Jedi tricks and being all dreamy and telling you that, hey, I've loved you since the moment I saw you, you're the only one for me, are you an angel, and just saying all the right romantic stuff, I'm like, I don't blame you, girl. And then, right, she's like, nope, deny, let me shut that down. Then, she's with him through that emotional turmoil when he loses his mother, and then, they have to go save Obi-Wan, and she's like, all right, you can either stay here and cry, or you can come with me. They go. She's not one of those women that just cries for help. No, she takes matters into her own hands. She deals with the situation. You don't ever see her ask Anakin for help when, she's going through all the droid making a factory thing, and then when they're in the arena, and then Anakin's talking to Obi-Wan. He doesn't even notice the fact that she picked her lock and that she climbed up the pole and that she freed herself before the two Jedi did. And even Obi-Wan's like, she's fine, you know, she doesn't need our help. She doesn't ask for help. And I loved that about Padme. I'm like, yes, girl. And it was one of those things where it's like a strong, you know, female character without having to rub in your face that she's a strong female character. You know, that's just who she was. And I wish that they would have left in some of the deleted scenes from Attack of the Clones, because they add more to Padme's character. Like, you learn stuff that you didn't see in the film. And yes, I know not a lot of people like Attack of the Clones, but I still enjoy it. There's some scenes in that I think were really important, like the scene between Count Dooku and Obi-Wan, but I know that's completely off topic. And, you know, in the third one, she just kind of cries. And I'm just like, girl, I get it, you're pregnant. I get it, you're pregnant, okay? I get it, you got hormones. But I remember when my mother was pregnant with both of my sisters, and, you know, she was still working, she was still doing stuff. She didn't sit around and cry all day. I remember my friends' mothers that were, you know, pregnant, and, you know, they didn't sit around and cry all day. I remember, you know, when I was in high school and my friends got pregnant, and they didn't sit around and cry all day. And now as an adult, I know women that have been pregnant multiple times, and, you know, they don't do that. And I get it, you know, everyone has their little different takes of pregnancy, but, like, come on, girl, come on. Like, she's sitting there looking off into the distance, you know, for Anakin, and, you know, he's sitting at the Jedi Temple crying because he knows he's gonna go do some stupid stuff. And, you know, then when the Emperor is saying, you know, telling everyone, oh, the Jedi attacked me, we're gonna go seek and destroy all the Jedi, and this is gonna become a galactic empire, and she's just like, oh, well, so this is how, you know, liberty dies, with thunderous applause. I'm like, girl, the Padme I know would have said some shit. She would have said some shit. And you know what else? She probably wouldn't just go die of, you know, a broken heart and, you know, lose the will to live. She would have gone up to Anakin and be like, yo, I heard all this horrible shit from Obi-Wan. And then when Anakin starts losing his mind, she would be like, yo, Anakin, get your shit together. I'm about to have a kid. I'm about to pop out some babies. Again, also with all the technology that they had, how did they not know that they were having twins? Couldn't Anakin have felt it with the Force? But again, plot hole. Yes, I do have problems with the prequels. Even though I love the prequels, I do have problems with them. And, you know, again, how would they not know that they're having twins? How would you not know in that time? Maybe she wanted to surprise them, but again, Anakin could have sensed them. Why wouldn't she have been like, Anakin, get your shit together. We can deal with this later. I'm about to have your freaking baby. Get on this ship with me. Let's go to some planet that's not exploding with lava, and let's talk about this. But right now, you got a job to do, and, you know, that's holding my hand while I scream as I shove your baby out of my body. And I'm just like, that's what I was assuming a woman like her would do. And, you know, they can kind of figure it out, because she's like, I'm having kids, and Anakin's like talking about let's go rule the galaxy together. And she'd be like, all right, if we're gonna roll together, I'm gonna tell you, you know, I'm the only one that's got experience ruling, and, you know, they actually were going to change the amendments of my planet so that way I could stay in office longer. Why don't you talk to the person that actually has ruling experience, and let me tell you how difficult that is. Let me tell you that your Emperor dude is crazy. You're already talking about overthrowing him when you just became his apprentice, Anakin. And I'm like, that's something I would have expected Padme to kind of do, but then she just kind of dies, and she loses the will to live it. And the Robot Chicken little skit said it the best. It's like, billions of dollars of technology, and you're losing the will to live? Are you freaking kidding me? Like, come on, you couldn't have come up with something better than that. Like, okay, if you're gonna have Anakin choke her, couldn't you have just, like, oh, I mean, that would have been something that I would have been more understanding, like he accidentally actually did kill her, like they snapped her neck, but they have some kind of technology that allows her body to stay in stasis, so, you know, maybe she went brain dead or something, and that when they were able to get the babies out before they died too. Just a thought. I felt like that could have been something, but what we got, I just kind of like, eh. And then I read this fan theory about how it was actually the Emperor that was pulling her life force because she didn't want to die, and, like, showing the picture of her face saying, like, does this look like somebody that wants to die? Because I remember watching that. I'm like, girl, you have no reason to live. You're lost to will to live. Didn't you just pop out of your damn body? Two very good reasons why you should be alive, to take care of them because their dad just went fucking psycho. Now you're just abandoning your children into the universe. Really, girl? And, you know, I didn't like the way that she went out. I was very disappointed, but yeah, that's a character that I love. I love her despite of how she went out, and that's something that I don't think I've ever really talked about, but I thought that she was a great character, and I loved all of her action figures. So I hope that answered your question. Question number 4. What is your favorite Pixar movie? My favorite Pixar movie, it's actually 2 movies, but it's Toy Story 1 and 2. I think that one, I when I watch them, I watch them both. I watched 1 and I watched 2. It's one of those things where it's going to be both of them or none of them. And so I remember when I was a kid and I was, I would wake up in the mornings really early and I would lay on the floor in my Cinderella sleeping bag and I would be watching, my VHSs up on the TV, and I just lay on the floor with my sippy cup and I'd watch the movies, and I'd have my Barbies or, my toys with me. And I always remember loving Toy Story. And, I love movies about friendship, and I think that's something that's great about a lot of Pixar movies is that they show, the evolutions of friendship. And I related a lot to Woody because I think the underlying message in it, especially, since it's geared at children, is having being the older sibling and, making room for the younger sibling. And that's what I always got from the relationship between Buzz and Woody in the first movie. And, I remember what it was like before my sisters were born. And, when Ellen was born and, there's this new baby, and being a kid, you don't really understand. I remember when my parents brought her home and I was just like, what is this thing? It just cries and it smells bad and it, poops. Like, why did you get this? Why didn't we just get a puppy? And, I didn't understand. And, watching Toy Story and, seeing the way that Buzz and Woody interacted, and it's like, oh, this is this new thing, and Woody's just like, why are you here? Why is Andy all of a sudden all obsessed with Buzz? And everything turns from cowboys to spaceships and astronauts. And I remember that. I remember my room. I had my room, and then all of a sudden my mom moved my bed into a different room, and all of a sudden there was a crib in my room, even though all my toys, all my clothes were still in my room. Now there's a crib in my room, and I have to sleep in a different room, but all my stuff is in my room, and I have to be quiet when I play with my toys because the baby is sleeping. And it really irked my soul, I'm like, why? This is my room. Just put the baby's crib in the other room, so that way, you didn't move all the rest of my stuff. Why is all of a sudden the crib in my room? And, I remember watching, how Buzz and Woody, they had to, Woody had to accept Buzz, and they had to learn from each other, and then Buzz learning that he's not, as Buzz Lightyear, the astronaut, he's a toy, he's a children's toy, and seeing that perspective from toys, and also, I've being, alone for a little while, and, I didn't have any friends because I was too young to go to school and all that good stuff. It was before, because I was really, really young, and yes, I have memories from being that young, but I just remember it made me feel less alone, and so, the baby was too young to play with me. My parents didn't know how to play with me. I remember my dad always laughs because I yelled at him because he didn't know how to play with Barbies. Like, he played with Barbies wrong, according to the little me. And I still remember telling him, like, he does not know how to play with Barbies. But it made me feel like not alone because I had my toys, and they couldn't show that they were alive when I was there, but they were alive and they cared about me. And it's still something that I still, I know it's silly, but I still believe that, and it's made me form, attachments to, inanimate objects, but I don't know, there's that love, there's that connection that's there, and I think that's something that's so great about Toy Story, and it's why I passionately hate Toy Story 3, and after seeing Toy Story 4, I passionately hate it as well. How fucking dare you, whoever approved those, whoever wrote those, how fucking dare you? I am just as mad at them, if not even more angry, than watching the fucking Last Jedi, because both movies ruined my childhood, The Last Jedi, as well as Toy Story 3 and Toy Story 4. I remember sitting in the theater and I'm just crying because I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, Andy? What the fuck are you doing? Andy's mom, I'm like, what do you mean, Andy? This is a family toy. It gets passed down. Woody was passed down from your father. And then one of the things that I used to love about Pixar was how intricate everything was and how everything was related, and that, in Toy Story 2, when you find out about Jessie, and I'm like, Andy, you did exactly to Woody and to Buzz as what Emily did to Jessie, and then, finding out, yes, it's the lore, it's not confirmed, but that Emily is actually Andy's mom, and that Jessie was her doll, and you know, it's just making full circle. And then, like, really, like, and it broke my heart. So when I went to college, I'm like, hell's to the fuck no, I'm not getting rid of any of my toys. I'm not gonna do to you what Andy did. And then in Toy Story 4, after all of Toy Story 3, when everything, oh, Andy's making this decision, he's gonna give the kids to Bonnie, so the toys to Bonnie, so that way they're get played with again. And then the first 5 fucking minutes of Toy Story 4, you're telling me that Woody's not even getting played with, that she would rather play with a fucking spork? Are you fucking kidding me? So everything that you did in Toy Story 3 breaks because of Toy Story 4. So all of that, everything that Andy did, it's just worthless, and now Woody's gonna go be a lost toy? No, fuck that. Fuck you people at Pixar. You should have fired John fucking Lasseter. Yes, I know John Lasseter was still there when Toy Story 3 came out, but what the actual fuck are you doing? Now you're just milking it for money. You are taking something that I loved, that was such a part of my childhood, that I loved watching these characters, and you know, it was something that was so special to me because it helped me come to terms with the fact that I, you know, have a sibling. And you say, fuck it, we're just gonna milk this for money. We're gonna introduce new characters so you can have more toys. We're gonna change the costume design on Little Bo Peep so that way we can tell new Barbies of Little Bo Peep, and we can sell the, you know, deluxe version of Little Peep where she's got her first costume and her second costume. No, fuck you if all you care about is money instead of actually telling good stories. Pixar, they used to make things that meant something. When I watched Monsters, Inc., when I watched Finding Nemo, that had such fucking heart to it. And now everything is just meant to make money. Finding Dory, I only needed to watch that once. Yes, Finding Dory is a special little case because it's specifically just, I feel like they just made it for Ellen DeGeneres, which I'm like, alright, I kind of understand that. But Toy Story 3 and Toy Story 4 are so fucking unforgivable because it destroys everything. And they just threw Buzz aside. They threw Jessie aside as just these side characters. And I'm just like, what the fuck are you guys doing? You don't even give any of these characters justice. You just are so focused on introducing these new characters so you have new toys to sell. Well, you know what, Pixar, go fuck yourself because you destroyed something that had so much meaning to so many people. And I'm sorry that was a very long rant, but I feel very passionately about Toy Story. Question number 5. Will you be doing more drawing videos? Also, what happened with Wings? Alright, so yes, I will be doing more drawing videos. The problem with why I haven't come out with them in a little while was because I moved and I can't find my sketchbook, and I need to set up a little spot in, you know, my studio. I haven't set up my art studio. I've only set up my computers and, you know, my wall of chaos behind me. But once I do that, I will be doing more art videos, and yes, I do plan on having them out every single week, and there'll be part 1 on Saturday and part 2 on Sundays. I am actually thinking, because I was just gonna do pop culture characters, you know, comic book characters and ones that everyone knows, but I was thinking of maybe doing, as I learn more about expanded universe characters, of doing, you know, expanded universe characters and drawing them like Darth Bane, Darth Zana, you know, and, you know, people from Thrawn, drawing Talon Card, all of these characters that when I go and I look online, yes, there's some pictures of them, but I would really enjoy drawing them, and, you know, just after reading these books and showing, you know, what my impression was of these characters and how I visualize them. So I will be doing more drawing videos, I promise, and I'm glad that so many people like them because they take me a really long time to do. I would say each, you know, a sketch takes me a minimum of at least 3 hours, and then editing them takes about the same amount of time, if not longer. And so, yes, it's a lot of time that goes into making those types of videos, but I'm really glad at the response. Hopefully they get, you know, they help out with the YouTube algorithm, because right now the YouTube algorithm is like, no, we're not going to show this to anyone. But from the response that I've gotten from everyone that watches them, it's one of those things where it's almost unanimously everyone enjoys them. So that makes me really, really happy, and it inspires me to do more of them. So thank you for asking. Also for Wings, for everyone that's not aware of what Wings is a comic book I've been working on, and one of the things I did was I drew out the first chapter. Well, it was the what is it called? The prologue. I drew out the prologue, and I thought I got all, you know, I did my thumbnails, and then I drew all of it, and then I went to go add dialogue, and I realized I need 50 more drawings to go with this dialogue, or I just need to get better at writing dialogue. I've read, you know, hundreds if not thousands of books, and apparently me doing this is very difficult. So what I need to do is I need to write it out first before I draw it, and that's taking a lot of time. I'm not I don't think I'm the best writer when it comes to, you know, fiction writing. You want me to write a speech? I got it. I can do a speech in probably an hour, as long as I'm, you know, knowledgeable on the topic of what I need to be talking about. And I took a speech class in high school and in college, so I really like, you know, speeches and, you know, public speaking. But as far as getting Wings out, it's probably not going to happen until 2020, and I'm still debating on if I want to do an Indiegogo or, you know, just post a weekly chapter on Webtoons. So that's where it is at Wings, and to answer the first part of this question, yes, I will be doing more art videos. Question number 6. What is your favorite thing to draw? My favorite thing to draw is animals at the zoo. I love going to zoos, and I love just taking my sketchbook, not like my iPad or tablet or anything. I just like taking a regular newsprint sketchbook, and then I have these Chinese crayons. So they're just regular Crayola crayons, but they're wrapped in, you know, recycled Chinese newspaper, and they have this little string that you pull, and it takes off things, so that way when you run, when it gets dull, it gets longer and whatnot. And I just sketch with those. So when I went and was on the set of Star Wars Theories, Vader Shards of the Past, I had my sketchbook and I was sketching on set. That was a lot of fun, but my favorite thing is just going to zoos and sketching animals. I love animals, and, you know, I grew up on a ranch, and, you know, it makes me happy to be around nature and to be around animals and getting to see all these exotic animals that I would, you know, never see if, you know, zoos didn't exist. I know a lot of people don't like zoos because they're like, oh, it's keeping animals, you know, in cages, but there's a zoo right, you know, by where I live, and they have a lot of animals there that have been harmed due to poaching, and so they keep these animals at their zoo so that way, you know, because they wouldn't be able to survive in the wild without humans helping them. And so that's one thing about zoos that I do like, is that they're really big on conservation. I was able to go to the Fresno Zoo recently, and if you live in California, honestly, I think that's the best zoo that California has. That being said, I still haven't been to the San Diego Zoo, but they just remodeled the Fresno Zoo, and so there's a giant safari section, and I mean, you get to see the elephants and the rhinos and the giraffes all walking, and it's all open spaces, and it's divided by this, you know, river thing that the animals can't get across. And so the lions also have all this room to roam. The cheetahs have room to roam. And so it's like the African safari section, and it's so awesome getting to see all of these animals roaming like they should, and not seeing them, you know, in cages. It's actually a giant space for them. And that's a problem with big cities, is they don't have all the space. But watching an elephant take a bath in, you know, this big gigantic, you know, lake basically with the waterfall, and it was just so happy playing with the ball, and I was like, oh. And I got to sit there and draw it, and, you know, that's my favorite thing to do, and that's my favorite thing to draw, is just go to a zoo and draw animals. Question number 7. If you had a chance to change something in the originals and the prequels, what would it be? Alright, so this is going to be kind of a tough question, but I will answer the originals first, because I feel I'm one of those people that I think the originals were perfect in, you know, their own way. What happened in them, I'm just like, oh, it's my soul, it's my soul. The unedited, unspecialized edition stuff, they were perfect, they are untouchable. The only thing that I would have added to the originals was a shot or something of Mara Jade dancing at Jabba's palace. And, you know, they could have just had, you know, a human female that had red hair that was Mara Jade disguised as one of the dancers, because in the expanded universe, Mara and Luke, you know, Luke's like, I feel like I've met you before, and she reveals that she was sent there to assassinate Luke from the Emperor, and she was one of the dancers at Jabba's palace, but she wasn't allowed to go with him to the Sarlacc pit, so she wasn't able to assassinate Luke, but she was one of the dancers, so she got to see Luke. Her and him were in the same room, so they would not even giving her like a speaking role or anything, just a shot where she's there in Jabba's palace, you know, just a dancer. So that would be something that I would have added to Return of the Jedi, just so that way when you go and, you know, you read the expanded universe, or even them showing, if they wanted to show flashbacks for, you know, not the Disney fan fiction version of Star Wars, but if they did make sequels, they could have done it from that and like shown that scene of like her in the background watching Luke interact with Jabba. I think that would have been that would have just added on and given that chance for sequels, given that, you know, just seeing Mara Jade in the originals, that would have been awesome. But, you know, can't change the past. So, as far as the prequels goes, what I would change about them, like I said earlier in this video, I honestly think that Padme deserved a better ending. You know, even if, you know, the Emperor killed her, like she was going to go see Anakin and he's manipulating her through the Force, or maybe she hit her head or something and the droids are saying, oh, she's bleeding when she fell down. I don't know, she hit her head wrong and her brain's swelling and we don't have the technology to fix it, or something just something to give Padme a better death aside from just losing the damn will to live. It's like, really, girl, really? But aside from that, because I kind of already said that earlier in this video, I would say just maybe a little bit more background story on General Grievous, because when I was a kid, I remember just being like, where did this guy come from? Yeah, he was in the intro, you know, little opening title sequence, but, like, I want to learn more about him. I didn't learn more about General Grievous until, you know, I got the action figure and, you know, a little bit in the Clone Wars, but I just remember being a kid, like, going, who the heck is this guy now? And, you know, yeah, he's cool, and that fight scene between him and Obi-Wan was cool, but I was like, why? Is he like a cyborg or something? Why does he have, like, a heart and actual eyeballs? And when I said this when I was in the theater with my dad, and when Obi-Wan, like, rips open his chest cavity and, like, does the thing with the heart, and his heart, you know, catches on fire, I was like, that's a major heartburn there. You should take that medicine that old people take. And my dad was laughing. But maybe just a little bit more of a backstory to him, and also, you know, a little bit more of Count Dooku, because, and again, I think that this is a scene that gets overlooked a lot by people when they talk about, oh, well, Attack of the Clones isn't the best Star Wars movie, or, like, hating on that out of all the prequel movies. And I'm like, honestly, I loved that scene between Count Dooku and Obi-Wan when Count Dooku's trying to say, hey, yo, I'm telling you, everyone is being manipulated by the dark, you know, master of the Sith, the Darth Lord of the Sith. He's controlling and manipulating all of you. Qui-Gon would have listened to me. Qui-Gon would have followed me. And Obi-Wan's like, no, he wouldn't have. You turned to the dark side. And yes, Count Dooku did turn to the dark side. But if you go and you read the expanded universe, and, you know, like, especially in the Darth Bane trilogy, they really talk about the difference between a dark Jedi and a Sith Lord. I feel like Count Dooku was more of a dark Jedi because, his portrayal is very different in the Clone Wars TV show as compared to, you know, the actual prequels, the live action movies. So the way that Christopher Lee plays him, he seems more like a dark Jedi, that he learned, and from my impression, just from that scene between him and Obi-Wan, it seems like he left the Jedi Order because he wanted to pursue things for himself. He didn't want to live the way of the Jedi, which I totally understand. Bro, I couldn't live like a Jedi either. I 100% understand. I like, you know, to do grown-up stuff. I like to have possessions and stuff. I like kisses and whatnot. And so, yeah, I also like chocolate. I like doing things that, you know, I don't like having to keep to a strict Jedi-like schedule. I like to, you know, go and do things and, you know, just go on trips, go on roller coasters, have dogs and cats and stuff. But, yeah, I couldn't live like a Jedi. I just couldn't do it. I'd be a gray Jedi if I was in that universe, because there's no way I would be a Sith or a Jedi. I go off on my own. I'd be like, okay, I learned my Jedi powers, and I'm just gonna go chill in my hobbit hole and use it, you know? But, you know, as far as Count Dooku, I feel like they had so much more potential for him, and I get why they killed him off so fast in the beginning of Revenge of the Sith, and that was a big shocker for me when he just gets killed off right after that movie. But that scene between him and Obi-Wan is so critical. The way he's talking about Qui-Gon, the way he's talking about how everyone's being manipulated, and he doesn't act like a Sith. He has remorse. He, you know, cares about people. He cares about Obi-Wan and his well-being because he knew that Qui-Gon cared about him. He's interested in what's going to happen with Anakin, but he has this facade. He even talks about how he wants to overthrow the Emperor, that he wants to overthrow Palpatine as well. You know, he doesn't name him, but he says, you know, listen to me, join me, and I will reveal everything. The Jedi have become blinded. And, you know, he was freaking right. If Obi-Wan would have listened, maybe if Obi-Wan just would have said, okay, I'm going to pretend like I'm going to follow you. I'm pretending like I'm your dude just to get the information out of him. That would have been a huge thing, and nothing would have happened. The Emperor wouldn't have won. And I honestly believe Count Dooku. I honestly think Qui-Gon would have listened to him. Because, you know, there's a thing between a master and a student. And, you know, I feel like Qui-Gon, the way that Qui-Gon was, Qui-Gon was like, I don't care what Yoda says, I don't care what Mace Windu says, I'm gonna train him. Anakin is the freaking chosen one, he's got this many midichlorians, and he's gonna be the one that brings balance to the Force. I believe it, and if you guys don't want me to train him, then deuces, I'm gonna go train him by myself, I'm not listening to any of you. Obi-Wan was like, Master, you know why you won't be on the council is because you don't listen to anyone. He's like, yeah, I'm not listening to any of them. I'm gonna do what I want, because what I want and what I feel, I'm gonna do what I feel is right. And I'm like, yeah, thank you, Qui-Gon. Closest thing to Grey Jedi we'll ever get on screen, because the people that own Star Wars now have no fucking idea of what a Grey Jedi is. But anyway, that's my little rant on that. Honestly, out of those 3 options, I wish that they would have had more with Count Dooku. I really do. I wish that even having flashbacks of like Qui-Gon and maybe Obi-Wan like contemplating what he was saying. Just that scene was so critical because so much information was in it. Honestly, I feel like that was the most important scene in Attack of the Clones. Yes, we did need the romance with Anakin and Padme, so that way we understand why they're getting married and where Luke and Leia came from and everything. But that scene was so jam-packed with information that was vital to the Jedi survival. And if Obi-Wan just would have been more open-minded and listened, and I think that's something that shows, and I think it's something that was done really well between Ewan McGregor and Alex Guinness's renditions of Obi-Wan, was that Ewan McGregor, he is that closed-minded. He can't see anything from a different point of view. And I think Ewan McGregor, you know, seeing the originals and everything, and it shows how his character evolves. You know, he's just the young, you know, Jedi Knight in, excuse me, my mouth is getting all dry, in The Phantom Menace. He's a master. He's got, you know, this student. He's got his Padawan that's annoying the shit out of him. He's got to do all these things that he's captured. And then, you know, shit hits the fan in Revenge of the Sith, and he's got to spend, you know, decades on Tatooine watching this baby from a distance grow up, and then, you know, he's just this old hermit living out, and he's just like, you know what, fuck it, you know, everything's from a different point of view, it depends on your point of view, and I'm like, if you just would have thought of that back in Attack of the Clones, you know, I guess certain lessons are learned with age, but if you would have just thought about that, and you would have pretended to follow Count Dooku, or just, you know, humored him for fucking information, none of you guys would be in this fucking situation. Everyone would have lived. You know, we could have overthrown the Emperor, but nope. And I love Obi-Wan to death. I totally get it, but I wish I would have seen more of that. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. But yeah, on to the next question. Alright, question number 8. What Star Wars movie did you see first? So, I actually was lucky enough to watch all of the Star Wars in order. So, I've told the story a few times, but the first time I ever watched Star Wars, I was at my Aunt Susie's house, and, you know, my mom and dad left me there because they were going to have my baby sister, and they couldn't exactly have me running around terrorizing the hospital, so they left me with my aunt, and I was one of those little kids that I only watched a movie if a princess was in it, because my mom cut off all my hair, and I had this short, stupid little bowl cut, and, you know, I wore a princess dress, and I needed to insist that I was a girl, and, you know, I liked princesses and princess things, and I would only watch, you know, princess movies. And so my aunt, she's like, she only had one princess movie, which was The Little Mermaid, and she's like, Anna, I can't watch this anymore because we watched it, you know, on repeat. And she's like, Anna, I can't do this anymore. Can we watch something else? And I was like, no, we're only watching this movie. And she's like, what about this movie? And I'm like, no, I don't want to watch that. What about this movie? No, I don't want to watch that. And then she's like, what about Star Wars? And I was like, no, I don't want to watch that. And she's like, there's a princess in it. And I was like, let's watch this right now. Right this second. And so my aunt was a teacher, and back in the day when teachers had, you know, those big TVs that they had on the cart, she rolled it in, she set me in this room, she rolled in the cart, she turned on the movie, she shut the door, and I didn't move the entire time. I watched the movie, I was completely transfixed, and just imagine that little kid that was in The Incredibles that's, you know, he's on his little tricycle and the bubble pops because he's just so amazed. That was me. I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And then I watched the next two because she's like, oh, you want to watch the second one? I was like, there's more? And then I watched Empire, and then I watched Return of the Jedi. And when my mom was at the house, when my dad came to pick me up with the new baby, and he comes to pick me up, and I was just like, Daddy, I need to go get a lightsaber. Do you know about Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader? And my dad was like, my little girl that's obsessed with princesses and Barbies, and he's like, what happened? She's talking about Star Wars and Darth Vader and lightsabers, and he was thrilled because he's like, yay, Anna likes this, but he was so shocked that I liked it. But yeah, so I watched Star Wars, then Empire, then Return of the Jedi. And then, years later, the prequels came out, and I got to watch those, and I didn't watch The Phantom Menace in theaters, but I did get to see Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith in theaters. So, that is the order I watched Star Wars in, and that is the only order I believe to watch Star Wars in. The first time, after, you know, it doesn't matter, you can mix and match, but I feel to experience Star Wars to the fullest, watch the original first, then watch the prequels. I hope that answers your question. All right, question number 9. How was your recent trip to Europe? What was your favorite place? All right, well, the trip to Europe was absolutely amazing. It was so incredible to finally leave America because I had never left the United States before. And it was, I was really worried because everyone warned me. They're like, you're going to have such a culture shock because nothing's going to be in English. I thought getting from the airport, so I flew from down here in Orange County all the way up to Seattle. We had a layover, got on the plane to London, had a little layover from London all the way over to Zurich, Switzerland. It was cool, like, getting off the plane in London. The security was a pain in the butt, but we got there. It was, everyone was speaking in the British terms, they all the accents, and it's like, oh cool, I'm in the UK. I've touched the ground in a building, even though it's in an airport in a different country. Everything's in pounds. It's not in US dollars. It's in pounds. And then, I ate stuff in the airport, and then I had, the soda, and I'm like, it does not taste the same. Coca-Cola does not taste the same in England. And then flying over to Zurich, oh my god, I was just looking looking out the window of the airplane. I'm like, this is so beautiful. This is what the Shire should look like. Like, oh my gosh, I could even see the furry cows from the window as the plane was landing into the airport. Getting to the airport, it was so luxurious. It was beautiful. There was barely any people there, and just driving into Zurich, it was late, but then walking around the city at night, and it was crazy because everyone's out partying. I'm like, what the heck is this? Everyone's all out in the street. Everyone's walking around with bottles of booze, and I was like, huh? What the heck is this? And just walking around, going through the city. And it's such a difference from Zurich in, Switzerland to the United States. And everything's beautiful and it's so clean. And then the next morning, it didn't look like anyone had been out partying at night. In America, if people were out partying like they did in Switzerland, it would be a disaster. It'd be disgusting. There'd be trash everywhere. It was immaculate. There wasn't a shred of trash. There was no homeless, and there was no graffiti. Everything was so clean and beautiful. And me and my boyfriend, we walked along the river, and there's just beautiful swans everywhere, and the food was so good. And then we went to Lucerne, and we got to see the touristy stuff, but I learned the hard way that nothing is open on Sunday in Europe. Nothing. So, except for a couple little touristy places and some restaurants, nothing's open. But we got to see that, and then we drove to Interlaken, but we didn't know about the freeway systems, and there's apparently toll roads, so we didn't want to risk it in the rental car. So we drove through the back roads of the Swiss Alps. I've never seen something so beautiful. Everything was just, every city, every time, well, I shouldn't say city, every tiny little town, every building. I was like, this is from a storybook. I feel like I just went to Fantasyland, but on crack. Oh my gosh, all the cows had the giant bells. It was so cool. We stopped at this biker bar on top of a mountain that served ice cream, so we had ice cream, and then we driving through the mountains, we thought we were going to die because it's how is this legal? How is this safe the way that the roads twist? You want to say the most twisty, bendy street is in San Francisco? You drive on that highway, which should not be a 2-lane road, but for some reason it is. And then randomly come out through the mountains into this little city, and all of a sudden we turn a corner and there's a giant, beautiful castle. I'm like, why? There's castles everywhere, and they're beautiful. And, there's this lake that, the mountains or the Alps are surrounding it, and there's, a city on every little corner of this lake. And then when the lake gets too close to the mountain, it goes from city to just a 2-lane traffic. And then there's some kind of caves up there that their legend has it there used to be a dragon, and there was monks there. And so it's this monastery, but there's pictures of dragons everywhere. And then we had dinner on top of the mountain, and there was this 60% incline for, this little tram that takes you up. And it was so cool, and everything was so beautiful, and the food was so good, and everyone was so nice. I love Switzerland. If I could go and live in Switzerland, I would, but I haven't been there when it snowed, so I don't know how cool that would be or how much I would be able to handle that. But Switzerland was amazing. If you ever have a chance to go to Switzerland, go. It was right out of a fairy tale. And Germany was pretty too. It wasn't as clean as Switzerland. I feel like I got really lucky by being when I was in Switzerland because the weather was actually really nice as compared to in Germany. The weather was rainy and muggy a lot of the times, but it was still really cool to see. We got to drive through the Black Forest. My cousin and his wife live in Stuttgart because that's where he's stationed. And so they took us to this, I can't remember the name of the town, but it was this little town. We went and had dinner there, so I got to spend my birthday in Germany, which was really cool. And I got to, spend time with my family. And, that was really nice. And then we got to go see the castle, the new Schweinstein castle. But the weather was so bad. It was so cold and rainy. And we walked up the mountain to get to this castle in the miserable rain. But going inside the castle and seeing all this artwork that you're not allowed to take pictures of, but the king that made this castle, he was obsessed with opera and medieval art and medieval architecture, which is why he built the castle. And so you go in and each room has a story. There's the story of, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but the German legend of the guy that kills the dragon, I think Siegfried. And then in the king's rooms, it's all Tristan and Isolde. And then, there's swans everywhere, and swans are my favorite bird. So seeing that in Switzerland and then seeing that in Germany, I was like, they're so pretty. I had never seen a swan until I went to Zurich. And so it was so beautiful seeing the castle and getting to see Munich and walking around and, the food. I'm such a picky eater, but the food everywhere was so, so good. And then driving on the Autobahn from Munich all the way to Berlin. That was a really long drive. It was an all-day thing going from Munich to Berlin. And then my boyfriend, his twin, is living in Berlin. So we got to stay with his twin for 4 days and walking around the city and learning about all the history. And I finally got to see the Berlin Wall. And I got to touch the Berlin Wall, both the east and the west. And, we also went to a concentration camp. And it was a lot of history. It was a lot of intenseness, and you can feel that the remnants of the energy, that eerie feeling, just being there and seeing one of the darkest parts of I was going to say American, but not American, but the darkest parts of human history, and it's very eye-opening. It's one thing to learn about it and to read about it and to see pictures of it, but to actually go there, it made my skin crawl. But it was something I'd go back, and I eventually want to go see Auschwitz, and, because I'm very, very much believe that, you need to learn about history, and, if you don't, it's likely to repeat itself. So, World War II and learning about the awful things that were done, you need to go there, you need to see it, you need to experience it, so that way, if any psychopath ever tries to take over the world again, you'll know, I feel like everyone should know not to let a psychopath take over the world. It's, and it sounds like something that would be out of, a science fiction book or, a fantasy novel, the psycho German or Austrian, because they always make sure to say that Hitler was Austrian, but, make sure that no one like that gets in power again. And, just hearing and seeing the images, it's something that, that it's sad that it's a part of human history, but, it's something that you need to learn about so that way history doesn't repeat itself. But, oh my God, that was a very intense part of the trip. And then there was a cat there that cut me. This cat was going up to everyone trying to get food, and I'm like, I feel like it's somebody around here, it's their cat, and, it's a fat cat, and I went up to it, it was letting everyone pet it. I go up to pet it, I'm like, hi, kitty, 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 and then I realized I didn't have food, and it cut me. I have a little scar on my hand from it now. But, yeah, we left the concentration camp, and I got cut by a cat. Yay. And then what else did we do? Just went around, Berlin. We went on one of those, little bus tours because, my boyfriend's twin's boyfriend, he had all these connections. He got us free tickets to everything. So it was a lot of fun, and I'm really glad that I got to go see Switzerland. I'm really glad that I got to see Berlin. My favorite place, hands down, was Switzerland, and just driving through it. if I could spend more time, because I was in northern Switzerland, I would love to go see southern Switzerland and go. I wanted to go across that bridge, the pedestrian bridge, the longest one in the world, where you can walk across from one mountain to the other and you get to see the Matterhorn and all that. So I would love to go do that. I was told to go back in the spring because that's when all the snow melts and, you know, there's all these waterfalls. So if I have a chance, I am going back to Switzerland. But yeah, that was a very long answer to the question, but it was a lot of fun, and I could go on for days and days about the trip, but it was a great experience, and I'm really glad I got to go. Hopefully my next trip I will be able to go to Australia and finally go to the Australian Zoo, because I'm a huge fan of Steve Irwin, and I would love to go see, you know, his, you know, I saw that image of his son doing the demonstration with the same crocodile as his father, and I would love to just go see that and, you know, go draw animals at that zoo. So hopefully I can go to Australia and, you know, maybe catch a flight over to New Zealand, go see the Hobbit Village, but it's between Australia and going to, you know, the UK and going and seeing in like Ireland and going and seeing, you know, just England itself and going up to Scotland, going and seeing, you know, just all the stuff up there. But anyway, that was a very long answer to this question, but I hope you enjoyed it. Now let's on to the next question. Alright, 10th and final question. Yes or no? Reylo fans / OT haters aren't real fans. They don't care about Star Wars, they're toxic stans. I don't know exactly what stans are, or if that was a typo from the person that asked this question, but I'm going to go with yes. Reyloers and OT haters, they are not real Star Wars fans. From all the interactions I've had with Reyloers, they don't know shit about Star Wars. They are talking about how the new Star Wars, the relationship between Rey and Kylo Ren is like Pride and Prejudice. I'm like, you've never fucking read Pride and Prejudice either. You never even watched the movie. If you're going to compare that insanity to Pride and Prejudice, you're gonna compare you know, like a guy that is the definition of an abusive relationship and the abuser in a relationship where he says, you are absolutely worthless to everyone except for me. That's exactly what an abusive relationship entails. That is when the abuser makes, you know, the abused party feel like absolute trash and that they can't leave the relationship because they are meaningless to everyone else except for the person that they're being abused by. And you know, they're all, I feel like everyone that is a Reyloer is probably a child that has never been in a romantic relationship, that doesn't understand what love is, that has never had, you know, a relationship where they actually have been in love. So, yes, they're not Star Wars fans. All they care about is this weird, sick, psychotic fantasy. And then the people that hate the original Star Wars, it's like, the way to bite the hand that feeds you. How the fuck how can you call yourself a Star Wars fan and not like the original Star Wars movies? That's where it all began. That's what the entire story revolves around, is, you know, the Star Wars, the hero's journey, but it's also having Anakin complete that story, that character arc, that, you know, his redemption and him bringing balance to the Force, because Anakin is the one that did that. Anakin was the chosen one. You get to see Anakin, you know, Darth Vader, and then his evolution to become Anakin Skywalker again, and you get that scene in Return of the Jedi where Luke and Vader have that conversation before Luke is taken before the Emperor, and Anakin, Darth Vader as Anakin, he turns his back to Luke and he says, no, it's too late for me, son. In that moment, you know that he's, you know, acknowledging the fact as Anakin Skywalker. This is the first time that you get to see him as, you know, really as Anakin Skywalker and not as Darth Vader, where he turns his back because he can't look Luke in the eye when he says, you know, because he's in that moment, you know that he's acknowledging that everything that he did was wrong, that he made it a mistake, and that it's too late for him. He's, you know, he's dived too deep. There's no turning back for him, and he's acknowledging that, and he's accepting his fate, and he's telling his son, if you go, like, I can't help you, you know, I'm too far into this. And Luke's like, no, you can come back from that. And Anakin doesn't believe him. And then, you know, when he's watching Luke, he's just like, fuck it. It's not worth it. I'm not going to let my son die. You're going to tell me that you hate that? Then go fuck yourself. You're not a fucking Star Wars fan. There's no fucking reason to hate the original Star Wars fan, or to hate the original Star Wars movies and still call yourself a Star Wars fan. That's just fucking psychotic. And to all those other people, and I am going to say a little, to all those, like, other channels that want to say, well, I don't like the toxicity surrounding all this. I have never met more toxic people than the sequel fans. Never in my entire life have I encountered Star Wars fans as toxic as sequel defenders. They are fucking insane. And the fact that they won't acknowledge, you know, just blatant plot holes, that they won't acknowledge these things, that they're actual problems. There's one thing for people that defend the prequels, and I remember as a kid, I went and saw the prequel movies in theaters. I like the prequels. As an adult, even as a kid, I can acknowledge the fact that there's problems with it, but I still like it. All the people that defend the sequel trilogy, they won't acknowledge that there's problems. They think they're absolutely perfect. It's like, are you fucking stupid? Are you fucking blind? But nope, they're perfect. We're all the toxic, misogynistic man babies. So it really irritates me when I see, other people, other sequel defenders, and other channels that don't want to get involved in the drama. It's like, defend, your fucking opinions. If you don't believe in your opinions enough to stand up for them, then, is it even worth it? Like, what kind of person are you? And so, when it comes to all this, I'm sorry, I'm kind of venting because I'm kind of frustrated with everything. It's just insanity. And the way that everything's going nowadays, I feel like it's just getting worse and worse. I cannot wait for The Rise of Skywalker to come out and this shit to just be done, and for them to not make sequels anymore, for all of this insanity, all this Reylo shit just to be over and in the past, and then they'll be complaining, oh, it's a movie, it's out now. It's like, okay, fine, get that movie out, get it out of your system, and then move on to the next fad, because that's exactly what these people are going to do. That's exactly what these Reyloers are going to do. I feel like they're the people that were obsessed with Twilight. They got Twilight, they got to see another toxic relationship there, even though I feel like that's a much better relationship than what Reylo is, and the concept of Reylo is just insanity, but they're going to move on. It was all the people that were like thirsting for something like Twilight, this really badly written romance, and they are looking at this as, oh my god, they must touch each other's hands. They're having these weird force phone calls, and they're focusing in on that as there's some kind of weird trope. It's like get the movie out so that way this insanity can end and we can move on from that, and all of these people will go away because they're not going to buy any of the merchandise. They're not going to support it any further. They're not going to continue to be diehard Reylo fans. They're going to get it, they're going to soak it up, and they're going to move on to the next thing. So the second The Rise of Skywalker is out and this is all over, I'm so much happier. I'm gonna be a happy camper. But anyway, I know that was a long-winded response, but it's something that frustrates me. It's like, how can you call yourself a Star Wars fan if you don't like the originals? And a majority of these sequel fans, all of these Reyloers, they never even watched it until now, until, they wanted to have contacts, or maybe they didn't even watch it and they just have this magical thing called Google, and so when they're fighting with you on Twitter, they're like, oh, well, this, and this, and this. It's like, you didn't even watch it, because now you're making yourself sound stupid, because, yeah, that happened, but do you understand the context from this scene? No, because you just Googled the one thing. So, I'm glad for all that shit to be over once this movie comes out. And yeah, anyway guys, I know this is a really long Q&A video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I actually really enjoy answering these questions. There's a lot of interesting questions that I get asked. So again, if you want to be part of this for next month, January 2020, then the way to get involved in this is to go follow me on Instagram, and I usually post the question things, right at the end of the month, and then that's how you get the chance for your questions to be chosen for this. And yes, I do 10 questions every time, so congratulations to the one if your question got answered. And for the ones that I don't pick to do the video on, I usually answer as many as I can, because there's always a lot. There's like hundreds of them in my actual story on Instagram. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, that's okay too. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Make sure you click that little bell, and when you click it, make sure that it's set to all. That way you do actually get my notifications, because any other setting, you won't get them. And until next time, everyone, have a great rest of your day, and may the Force be with you, because we are really, really, really going to need it. Bye, everyone. What's up, everyone? It's Anna, also known as That Star Wars Girl, and I have an Etsy store, so if you've ever wanted to own a print of my artwork, this is the place to go. As you can see, I have a lot of recognizable characters, from horror films to heroes to Star Wars characters. Some of the notable characters I have on here are Darth Vader, which I did a couple live streams painting, so you can own a print of this painting. I also have Luke Skywalker, the binary sunset version, one of my favorite scenes in the original New Hope movie. I have Darth Maul, which Ray Parks himself actually complimented me on Instagram. And then last but certainly not least, Ahsoka Tano. So if you want to own any of these prints, go right on over to my Etsy store. Again, that's The Art of Anna, That Star Wars Girl, or TSWG for short. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day. What's up, everyone? I have a P.O. box, so if you want to send me some mail, go ahead and send it to Anna, that's Star Wars Girl, or TSWG for short, at P.O. Box number 28171, Santa Ana, California, 927998171. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much.